Hey, I want to go a little bit under the bonnet and focus in on two or three things understandings really, that you can take away, that you can add to what you heard this morning. Was really about understanding some mindset and some challenges and how we get through challenges and adversity. And today I want to look at how do we create a high performance team and how do we maintain it. And that'll be the kaupapa, that'll be the reasons and what we're doing. And I want to start with this diagram that we had this morning. When the whole essence of what we're doing, we're sitting in the room, and I learned a lot about leadership during my time, and what I've understood is that leadership is a trait that everybody has. And so understanding what underpins it becomes pivotal. And we talked this morning about this is our desire and this is our reality, and it's really it's a stepping and a crossing back and forward, and you get in front of people that you are talking to and presenting to, so understanding how you influence those is a leadership question. And so it's really important for us I want to spend 5 minutes at the outset understanding this. I am not interested in good leadership. Good is not good enough. All right? I'm only interested in great leadership. And so anything to do with good leadership, I chew and spit out, because we want to go to the land of great leadership. And that's what you do. Looking to see and feel what's happening in this room. And so let's look at a little bit and say what's behind it. So what I do with what a lot of people do is I get on the phone and you Google it. When you Google leadership, you get 3.3 billion hits in less than half a second. So there's so much information out there about leadership that people think it's some sort of complex formula that only university professors understand. And so I hope you've understood from this morning that I'm quite a simple man, and I like to break things down into quite simple things. And for me, all I want you to do to understand great leadership is to understand two rules. And if you understand these two rules, then great leadership is in your domain, and it's a door that you can work through. First rule is it's not about you, which is interesting, isn't it, when we think of the whole leadership question. And the second one is it's only about you. So it's almost a paradox between the two. But in its simplicity, the understanding will become clear. So why is it not about you? So level one is people follow you because they have to. I'm in the military. I have a higher rank. If I tell you to jump, you jump purely because of the position I'm in. And there's a lot of people, and sometimes when your children are young, they follow you because they have to. As they get older, they won't stay at level one. Things have to shift and things have to change. Second level is people follow you because they like you. Sometimes I've worked with leaders who are nice people, but they're useless at what they do. But I do and love their company, and I love being around them, and they'll get a little bit more of my discretionary effort than what I would give to a level one. The third level sort of people follow you because of what you've achieved, and a lot of sports people get into this particular domain where they've played high-level sport, then they go into coaches, and the moment they go into the team follows them because of their record and their reputation. And I've met some terrible former great players who basically aren't great coaches, but they can come in at an entry level that's higher than the others. A level four is people follow you because of what you've done for them. So all of a sudden you start moving into a realm that's important, because when you do things for people and people feel that, you enter a different door. I just loved standing up here listening to that recognition and feeling it more than anything. Recognition is good for the giver, it's good for the receiver, and it's good for the observer. And so is kindness and all those things that we know are the intangibles that make the human spirit wake up and stay alive and connects us in that particular way. I love that. I love that about the way you do what you do. It's very special. And level 5 is around who you are and what you represent. That's a pretty tall order, and you'll automatically think of it in my life, who do I know that's been a level 4 or level 5 leader, and different people will come to mind, and I'd hazard a guess that most of those people are in that category because of the way they made you feel. Because of the way they made you feel. And when we understand that, that's important. So why do I say it's not about you? Because when you're leading others, It's not about you because it's all about a choice, but not your choice, their choice. So the people you get in front and you put your plans to, and the people you lead in your own whānau and own family, as they get old, it's their choice. They make a choice as to whether they follow you. And that's why it's not about you. Embrace that and understand that challenge. It's cool. And so why then is it only about you? And so the paradoxical nature of that, the environment set by the actions and behaviours of the leader. So you create the environment. If you're stable and you know the things that you want to exhibit and you stay true to them through thick and thin, is right even if no one is doing it, and wrong is wrong even if everyone is doing it. And once you understand that sets the environment that you operate in, you become really important. Model the behaviours you want in your team, and that's why it's only about you. Because if you do that and you become consistent, and then great things happen in that particular way. And the interesting thing is, what environment are you creating? And I tell people sometimes if they're not consistent with who they are and their character, sometimes we're losing so slowly that we think we're winning. Sometimes we're losing so slowly we think we're winning because little things are happening that we're turning a blind eye to, and stay true to those things that are really important. And that's why it becomes important. So great leadership, it's not about you, and it's only about you. And let's make it really simple. And in your own reflection, and here, just as you sit here, and we looked at those opinions that are no longer serving you well, it's good for you to reflect on, where am I at on those levels? And what would I need to shift or move? I love that word move. I don't like change. Change is a harsh word. It's just got serrated edges to it. Move is smooth. And what we want to be able to do is, what do I need to move to get to that next level? No matter how old I am. And be context dependent. Sometimes I'm leading in this environment and I can be a different level in and around that, but it becomes really important for you. Second point, okay, that's great leadership. And there's no one in this room that's not a leader. Please tattoo that to your forehead. Now I want to introduce the concept that I call the lethal cocktail. It's an understanding that once grasped, I think will take you to another level. Because it has done with the sports of women and men that I have worked with throughout my particular time. So let's unpick it a bit. What I like to create is I like to create what we call a performance triangle. All right, and this performance triangle has three aspects to it. So if I'm working with an athlete, if I'm working with a business person, these things apply. And what things that affect their performance is their mindset, so their attitude to a given situation or a given moment, their skill set, their abilities in the moment to exhibit what they need. If it's a rugby player, it's passing, catching, those things, and it's a netballer, it's shooting, it's defending. If it's a person in business, it's rapport building, it's negotiating, it's all those things that we talk about. And the third key point is structure. And it's the structure, which is the rituals and routines that we use to help us go about our business. And so sometimes when I'm working with an athlete, things aren't going well, I just simply ask myself, is it a mindset issue, skill set issue, or a structure issue? It gives me a nice door, an entry door to go through. Now, in all my work, the alignment with all three is crucial. If you can get alignment with all three, Bob's your uncle. It's a really good thing to do. But I found one of them has been a superpower. And when you understand this, it really gives you an avenue to enhancing what you're going to do. So if you think skill set's the superpower, raise your hand. Well, there's a couple gone up, but you're consistent with every other group that I asked that question. Not many or any put their hand up. It's just interesting when you think about the amount of time we work on skills. Who thinks mindset is the superpower? Raise your hand. Look around the room. Look around the room. Look at all the hands. Okay, so that's consistent with everybody else. Who thinks structure is the superpower? Oh, yeah, okay. There's a good little smattering of people in that around the room. Interesting, because what I've found in all my work is that the superpower, the one thing that differentiates, that separates the good from the great and those that can maintain. High performance is structure. Now, let me explain. So I've been working in the All Blacks for 23 years, wonderful opportunity and privilege. Everyone that comes through that door have no problem with their mindset. They all want to play 100 tests, they want to be there 10 years, and they want to be super great All Blacks. So the mindset is absolutely, unbelievably and unequivocally placed front and centre. And in terms of their skill sets, they can do things that take your breath away. And you could say that in any endeavour. But when things break down and the collapse occurs, it's about how do I put together my week where I can manage my rehab, my prehab, my media equipment, my relationships, my analysis, my meeting with the coaches. And when things break down, it's because we can't put together a structure that actually organises all those things. And that's why structure becomes a key, powerful pivot when it comes to enabling you to get success. Now, and this is how I describe it, a framework that guides thoughts and actions in a given moment, enhancing performance and supporting mental resilience. So I'm working with one of our All Blacks, and he's a cheeky little chirpy halfback, as they are, and he says to me, Bert, they call me Bert, he said, he used a different word, that's not right, he said. But he used a different word to describe that. And I said, what do you mean? He says, when I'm out on the field and the referee makes a decision that I don't agree with, I want to punch his lights out. And I said, unless I shift my mindset, I'm going to go nowhere. And I says, correct. And he says, and I said, how's it going for you? He said, not very good. On a scale of 0 and 10, I'm about 11 out of 10. I said, what about if you tried this? You're on the field, the referee makes a decision that you don't like. And so you take 3 paces away from him, find the first person in your team and say, what are you seeing? And what are you seeing? Listen to their responses, take a breath, then come back and connect with what you've got to do next. He says, okay, I'll give it a go. So we gave it a go, and I said after the game, how'd that go? He said, went from about 11 out of 10 to a 6 or 7 out of 10. So there's still a bit of anxiety. What had we given him? Structure. We'd given him a structure. And once you understand that sometimes we get so locked in a mindset that we can't shift, because we keep looking through that mindset lens, we can't shift it. But if you look at it through a structure lens and ask myself, what's a structure I can use to shift that mindset? Hallelujah, great things happen. So when you are working, so I'll go through now and I've got a difficult conversation to have someone, or they've got a fixed mindset that they've created a sort of a self-made prison. All I do is I go, what's the structure I'm going to use to help shift the mindset? And the mere looking through that lens and that understanding really helps enable us to move. So we look at all the things that are happening in our life and the issues that are causing us. How do I, listening to the speaker before us, talk about the different health products and the wonderful array of things you have, and going through my head is saying, what's the structure I'd use to put that in front of someone that I really wanted them to uptake? When you look at it through that lens, all of a sudden it gets stepwise, use the wisdom of other people around you, and great things can actually happen. And so that becomes really important. In the land of high performance, structure is king. It is really king. If that's one part of the cocktail, what's the other part? And I mentioned it this morning, it's discipline. And it's understanding. So once you understand the structure, and then you understand the sequence of things you need to do in an action way, and then you can discipline yourself to follow those in thought and action, you move wonderful things. You think of all the difficult times in your life that you've navigated your way through, I guarantee structure and discipline were front and centre. And I'll tell you all the challenges that you'll have ahead of us, and we learnt this morning, we've got one guarantee. If you understand structure and discipline, there's nothing you won't get through. There's nothing you won't move through. And that becomes hugely powerful and hugely understanding. If you think adventure is dangerous, try routine. It's lethal. And people think it's just routine, and I bet all these people sitting down here, their whole success in business will be rooted on structure and discipline. Correct? And you take a message away, and boy, if you can get that understanding and even begin to instigate it, start it, you'll move some wonderful things. Beautiful. Okay, next section. I want to now give you a structure to help you get better. Will that be good? Yeah, that's good too. I kind of like that too. I like these pictures of these boys up on the screen. So here's a structure. So we now understand what great leadership is. And we now understand the performance triangle and that the superpower in that is structure. And so if structure is king, discipline's its queen. I love royal environments. Kings and queens are good. So how do we get better? And to illustrate this, I'm going to ask you a question. Okay, so I want you to, we're going to do a bit of a task. I want you to think, what's your role in your business? I heard people up on the stage as they're getting interviewed. I love the way you do that. You know, that people tell you who they are and people are proud of who they are and what they do. So what's the task? What's a task or a role? What's a role you do that's important to you? All right, everyone may be different. In your own mind, I want you to think of a role that you do that's really important, and we're setting a frame around how we actually get better. First question is, what's a word or a phrase you'd use to describe where you and your role in your business currently stands today? All right, so don't overcomplicate it. Be more visceral, which means listen to your gut more than your head. All right, so this is the role. Gilbert's asked me a question, and now he's asked me a question. Think of a word or a phrase that describes where I'm at. Some of you will get things coming to you straight away.